Welcome back to Hardball. Confirmation hearings for Sonia Sotomayor kick off Monday in the Senate Judiciary Committee, and Republicans are making some noises about mounting resistance, even if they have no chance of stopping her from joining the Supreme Court. Here's Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell today.
All of us are impressed by her remarkable life story. It reaffirms not only to Americans but to people around the world that ours is a country in which one's willingness to dream and to work hard remain the only requirements for success. And yet it's precisely the truth about America that makes it so important that our judges apply the law the same way to one individual or group as to every other. This is why we've raised the questions we have, and this is why we will continue to raise them as the confirmation hearings for Judge Sotomayor proceed.
McConnell and other Republicans have questions about whether Sotomayor is what they call an activist judge. The Brennan Center for Justice at NYU Law School released a report today on Judge Sotomayor's record. We're joined now by the author of that report, attorney Monica Youn. Monica Youn, the Brennan Center is named after Justice Brennan from the Supreme Court, and you've done an analysis, as I understand it, based exclusively on her judicial appointments. You did not include in this analysis things like her public speeches or remarks made off the cuff in question and answer situations, but just her judicial opinions.
Exactly. We were not just looking at the opinion she authored, but at any case in which she was part of the panel or the en banc making the decision.
En banc meaning on the appeals court, they will have opinions that are written by 3 judges or larger groups of judges, depending on exactly where the case is at its level of development in the appeals court. Some of them are authored by Sonia Sotomayor. Some of them are things where she's just saying, I agree with Judge Katzmann, who wrote this opinion, right?
Yes, and in a lot of them, it's hard to tell who wrote the opinion because the opinion is unsigned.
And how does it line up? Do you see her, does her name show up only on the side where Democratic appointees to that court are agreeing with themselves, or is she ever finding herself in agreement with Republican appointees to that court?
You know, what we found, and we looked at almost 1,200 cases. We looked at every constitutional decision of the Second Circuit over the past 10 years that she has been sitting on the court. And what we found was striking unanimity and striking bipartisan consensus. We see Judge Sotomayor basically joining unanimous decisions. Her decisions are unanimous 94% of the time.
Okay, well, let's go back over that for a second. On a court that is composed of both Democrat and Republican appointees to that court,
yes,
all confirmed by the United States Senate, her opinions are unanimous what percent of the time?
98. Not just her opinions, her decisions in general. When Judge Sotomayor is on a panel, we are seeing a 98% unanimity rate. Now, the Second Circuit, I should point out, is a circuit.
So if you pick one of these cases and you're saying, hey, Sotomayor was really flaky on this decision, you're saying that about every other judge who joined that decision.
Exactly. Now, I should point out that the Second Circuit has a reputation for being a court that really privileges consensus. They are a court that's about evenly split between Democratic appointees and Republican appointees, and you see an overall 93% unanimity rate for the circuit as opposed to a 94% rate for Judge Sotomayor. I think I may have misspoken earlier. She's in the majority 98% of the time. She's unanimous 94% of the time.
Right. Let's take a look at the basic conclusion of your report. Here is what it says. The conclusion is unmistakable based on the data in constitutional cases. Judge Sotomayor's record places her squarely in the mainstream of the Second Circuit. What do you mean there by constitutional cases?
Well, we weren't, unfortunately, able to look at every decision the Second Circuit has made over the past 10 years. That would have been tens of thousands of cases, as opposed to the 1,200 that we were able to review in advance of the hearing. But we thought that we would focus on cases in which a constitutional issue was raised, whether that be a First Amendment claim, a civil rights claim, criminal cases in which a due process violation is alleged, that sort of thing.
And there, just to the audience understand, in the federal court system, there can be plenty of very trivial cases that can make it up to that level. A postal worker who's accused of stealing stamps on some procedural motion can end up in one of these cases, and that's not the kind of thing that you're going to look at to try to evaluate someone's fitness for the United States Supreme Court, right? So that's why you're zeroing in on the so-called constitutional case.
Yes, people can raise constitutional claims in, less important cases as well as more important cases, but the reason we specifically wanted to focus on constitutional cases is constitutional cases are the cases in which our federal judges have the most power. They can actually strike down the action or a statute passed by a legislature or an action of another governmental official and say that action was unconstitutional. You're not allowed to do it again.
Let me go to one thing that's Al Franken has just joined the Judiciary Committee. The first time we're going to see him as a senator will be when he's participating in these hearings starting Monday. He is not a lawyer. He's one of now 3 people on the Judiciary Committee who never went to law school. How do you feel as a law school graduate, a lawyer, a judicial expert doing this kind of work? How do you feel about entrusting the evaluation of Supreme Court nominees to people who don't have professional legal training?
One thing I think about that is that the law applies to everyone, to lawyers and non-lawyers alike. And too often judges get caught up in this concept of law, and they're not thinking about the way in which a law plays out in the real world. They're not thinking that there are people who have to live by this. There are people whose decisions in terms of certainty, in terms of whether their action is going to be considered illegal or not, need to know how to behave. And I think that it's valuable to have voices of people on the committee who are not just people who are legally trained.
All right, we're going to leave it there for today. Thank you, Monica Yoon.